Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we're going to talk about how you could really solo over just about any key. And normally, the key note of a song, normally 9 times out of 10, and actually there's lots of exceptions to this, but normally is the first chord. So if you're playing with somebody, for instance, and you're like, man, I have no idea what chords you're playing. I have no idea what's going on with what you're doing. A lot of times, if you just ask them what the first chord is, hey man, what's the first chord? If they say A major, then it's probably the key of A major. If they say A minor, it's probably the key of A minor. Now there are lots of exceptions to this, but just kind of taking this A minor, A major idea, I think that could be a really good example of how you could take one particular pattern and set it up to solo over any key. So for instance, we could take a pentatonic scale, and actually this so reminds me of my first lesson actually with Robert Newton, actually, because I had a degree in music at that point. And somehow we still gravitated towards, hey man, pentatonic scales work great on the guitar. So your typical A minor pentatonic scale, actually, normally what you would be playing is kind of doing something called pattern number 1 from the low E string on the 5th fret, which is an A note. So if you took your first finger and kind of set them up there, kind of 5th fret on the low E, then we'd be going to 8th fret on the low E. And then on the A string, we'd be going 5th fret on the A, to 7th fret on the A, and then same pattern on the D string, actually, kind of 5 to 7, 5 to 7 on the G string, and then 5 to 8 on the B string, and then 5 to 8 on the high E string. So the notes we're actually kind of playing is an A and a C, and a D and a E, and then a G, and then we kind of start over again. A and a C, and a D, and a E, and a G, and then an A, and a C. So A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C. It's kind of one way to think about that in relationship to kind of the notes of the scale. Or you could just be thinking just those numbers, actually, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. That's pattern number 1 of a pentatonic scale. There are lots of other patterns, and you can kind of put these together too, actually. I'm practicing this as kind of a 2-note scale. And you may be familiar with those other patterns, actually, kind of pattern 2, right, pattern 3, pattern 4, kind of up the neck, actually. So some of you may have studied these patterns and how they move around. What we're going to be doing is talking about just that one pattern of kind of pentatonic, and how, first of all, how you could play some licks in that pattern, and actually kind of working some ideas that Robert Newton threw at me. And then taking that idea of this pattern and talking really quickly about how you can move that into playing over just about any key. And you could base your entire guitar career on this one scale and make lots of money if you find a job as a lead guitar player. So the idea here is you've got those notes, and there are lots of technical ideas that can be applied to that scale as far as how to play it. And actually all these licks we're going to explore in pattern 1, you could explore those in pattern 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Or start off with just kind of basic technical things, like hammer-ons could be kind of a cool word. Kind of doing just kind of playing the first finger note and kind of putting down the other finger to carry the sound across as a hammer-on. So kind of doing 5 with the pick, but then kind of putting the finger down to get the 8 without the right hand. So a cool little trick there is kind of called a hammer-on. So you can even try that idea through the whole scale. Or you could try pull-offs, which is kind of the reverse of that, kind of working kind of the 8 back to the 5. So I'm playing the 8th fret on the high E, letting my finger fall off straight towards the floor to get it to fall, the sound to fall back to 5th fret. Kind of working a C, A pull-off idea. So that might be kind of a cool way to kind of, or some cool licks working pull-offs. Or you could work slides as an idea, kind of playing the note and then letting your finger slide up the string to carry the sound. And doing upward slides is a cool idea. Doing down slides is a cool idea. Just to kind of get used to that. Another idea is you could try and take bends as an idea, kind of taking a note and kind of pressing up and into the guitar at the same time. Sometimes adjusting where the thumb is, using the other fingers behind the note, can kind of help give you more leverage. The idea is you're riding the fret out, pressing up and into the guitar at the same time to get a bend sound. And there are lots of different bend variations. You can do pre-bends where you bend it first, let it come down. You can do two bends. You could do the called the Gilmore crazy bend, right? Try and go really, really high. Watch out for broken strings. Or you could take just that bend idea and kind of try it through the pattern, which would be kind of cool. Or another idea that's based off of bends is something called vibrato, where you kind of bend the note and then do a lot of little teeny bends after you got it bent up. So you bend the note and then do a lot of little bends at the end of that. So you may kind of taking the vibrato idea and trying that through the scale can be cool. Or you could work a double stop idea. Now, the idea of double stops is where you play two notes at the same time. And you can even take that idea and try it through the scale. This does get a little weird, actually. You'd have kind of the fifths on the E and the B together, go into the eighths on the B and E. So I'm using a little mini bar with my pinky for that. And then you'd have fifths on the G and B. You'd have a 7 on the G, 8 on the B, kind of adjusting it for the pattern. And then you have 7s together on the D and G, 5s together on the D and G, 7s together on the A and D, 5s together on the A and D. And then you have 8 on the low E, 7 on the A. It's kind of a double stop idea. And then you got 5s together on the E and A. So I'm actually kind of taking almost a fourth shape idea and then adjusting it through the scale, which could be a cool sound to play around with too. Or there's lots of grammar ideas, and this is where I kind of hit Robert Newton territory. His doing like patterns of 3 is kind of a cool idea, where you could organize the scale in groups of 3 notes. So for instance, you could do the A, C, and D of the scale, kind of the first 3 notes, 5, 8, 5, and then you go back to 8 on the low E to do an A, and then you're back to 5 and 7 on the A, and back to 5 on the A string to do the next 3. So the idea is kind of up 3, back 1, up another 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 3. So kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, kind of as a grammar idea, which you could try from the bottom of the scale, kind of the A, C, D, C, D, E, D, G, E, G, A. Or you might even start feeling that in triplets, actually. 1, 2, 3, 1, or I'm reversing it, right? Kind of 8, 5, 8, 5, 8, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8, 5. Very cool grammatical thing, or way to organize the scale. Kind of working patterns of 3. Or patterns of 4 can be cool, and actually end up with some cool finger rolls this way. Kind of doing the 5, 8, 5, 7, kind of the four notes of the scale. 5, 8, 5, 7. And then you go back to the 8 on the low E for the C note, and then do another 4 notes. So kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, back to the low E 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, back to the A on the 5th. For 1, 2, 3, 4, back to the E on the 7th. For 1, 2, 3, 4, back to D on the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, back to D on the 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, back to G on the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, back to D on the 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, back to the E on the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you could reverse that idea, and you end up with some really cool spots. Actually, there are a lot of places when you're working patterns of 4 where your first finger ends up in a position to drop a string in the pattern, and you may want to try that as almost as a finger roll. For instance, like if you did D on the 5th fret, and then you kind of lay it down with too much of the finger, you can almost roll it into the A string 5th. which is called a finger roll. And you can almost kind of do that same idea with the third finger on the other side, kind of coming into the string with too much finger to roll it to the next note, and working the patterns before. It's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, but then you can't really do it here. But 1, 2, 3, 4, but then you can do a roll to the A fifth, roll to the A seventh, roll to the D fifth, roll to the D seven, roll to the G fifth, but then you've got G on the seven, so you can't really work it there, but you can do it right here from the high E to the B string fifth. So you may find some really cool places where you may be able to set your finger up so you don't have to actually pick it up and then stick it back down. You can kind of work too much of it, almost like a bar kind of an idea, a little bar idea. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, roll. That kind of an idea can be kind of cool. Could be a cool way to organize it too. And I'm kind of going off topic, actually, is what I'm going to do. Because now I'm just throwing crazy licks at you. And there are lots of cool Robert Newton licks, actually, even. And the way Robert would have seen this scale, okay, is in relationship to orbits, or the interval shapes around the octaves, actually, kind of around the A. So one way of thinking about the scale, actually, instead of thinking just the note names, you could think of the A, which is kind of your root note, to the low E string on the 8th fret is a flat third, and then from the A to the A string 5th is a 4th shape, then we've got a 5th shape, then we got a flat 7th shape, and then we're back to a root shape. And then from that root, you got root to a flat 3, root to a 4, root to a 5, root to a flat 7, root to a root to a flat 3. I may have just lost you, and you may want to go check out Visual Systems as a lesson if you're interested in looking at the scale that way. Although that would be a cool way to kind of see it, because it really relates to how you're hearing it in your head more kind of 1 root, flat third, 4, 5, flat 7, root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, root, flat 3. And that way you could be thinking shapes around those notes. Although there's some other just really cool Robert Newton licks, actually. 1 note per string licks. I love these licks, actually. Where the idea here is you got the first note of the pattern that your first finger's playing, and then you have the second note of the pattern on the other side of the pattern. So kind of that 8, 7, 7, 7, 8, 8 is kind of the second note on the string that we're working this as a 2-note pattern. So the idea here is that you work ideas around 1 note per string instead of 2 notes per string. So you could do, for instance, like a 1 idea, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and just kind of go straight across the string. Or you could go 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, straight across the string, kind of on the other side of the pattern. So then you can mix it up different ways. Like you could have an idea of going first note, second note across the string. So it gets you out of just playing the pattern straight through. So now you're going 5th on the low E to 7 on the A, to 5th on the D, 7 on the G, 5th on the B, 8 on the high E. It's kind of almost like a little skip idea. It's kind of a 1 note per string idea. And you can even do that from the top too. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Might be kind of a cool lick. Or you could work it almost like a 3-note idea. You could do a 1, 2, 1, where you do low E on the 5th, 7 on the A, 5th on the D is kind of an idea. It's kind of a 3-note idea, but 1, first note, second note, first note of the scale, kind of straight across the E, A, D. And then you could go back to the A string, 1, 2, 1, back to the D, 1, 2, 1, back to the G, 1, 2, 1. So that might be kind of a cool way to work it through too. Or you could do 1, 1, 2, kind of 5th on the low E, 5th on the D, 7 on the D, or 5th on the A, 7 on the D, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. Or from the high E, you could work it 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So that might be kind of a cool lick too. could work a 2-1-2, which could be kind of cool. Second note, first note, second note. And you almost have a chance to do the finger roll idea, actually, to get back to the A7 for 2-1-2, and then the D string 2-1-2, and the G string 2-1-2. Might be a cool lick. Or from the high E, 2-1-2, 2-1-2, 2-1-2, 2-1-2. Kind of working at that idea. Or you could do 2-2-1, kind of 2-2-1, 2-2-1, 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. Or 2-2-1, 2-2-1, 2-2-1, 2-2. It's kind of cool. So just different ways of kind of mixing up the scale can be cool. And Robert actually threw this idea at me, actually, and I stumbled upon it listening to some old lesson tapes the other day, and I thought this was a really cool idea. Is you can almost think about the A minor, okay, and some of you will follow this and some of you won't, and that's cool. Normally A minor would be the 2 chord in the key of G. So if we were in the key of G major, you'd have G majors and A minors, B minors, C majors, D majors, E minors, F sharp diminished, and then back to the G major. Kind of through that scale. So you could think about the A minor as the 2 chord in a key. Okay, let me follow that. In the key of G, A minor is the 2. G to A is a 2. Actually, that might be another way to think about it. And so the 2 major chords that happen in that key are C major, C, E, G, and then D major, D, F sharp, and A. So this might be kind of cool, actually, and Robert threw this at me as here's something to drill orbits with roots, thirds, and fifths, so major chord shapes as a lick idea. So you start with the C major chord, and actually we're kind of working 3-note ideas here too. You have C, E, and G, and then on the A string you got D, F sharp, this is cool, D on the A, F sharp on the D string 4th fret, and then an A note is on the D string 7th fret. So I'm going 8, 7, 5, go to the A string 5th for 5, 4, 7, kind of working D major. So C major, C, E, G, D major, D, F sharp, A. But I'm thinking root 3, 5 from the C, root 3, 5 from the D. Then, this is the coolest part of this, Robert. Then you go to the 3rd of the C chord. So we go to the E note, and then the 5th of the C chord, which is the G note, and then the C on the G string 5th, kind of E, G, C. And then we take the 3rd of the D, kind of the F sharp, and then go into 7 on the D for the A, and then 7 on the G string for the D note. So this is crazy. Hopefully you got some tab that you're looking at right now. Kind of working C, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, C, F sharp, A, D. Then we go to the 5th on the D string for the 5th of the C chord. And now we're going 5, root 3 for C, kind of 5, 5, 5 on the D, G, and B. And then we go to the 7th fret on the D string for the 5th of the D chord. And then now we're going 7, 7, 7, kind of 5, root 3 for the D. Then we go to the 5th on the G string for the root of the C chord. 3rd of the C chord is the 5th on the B. 8 on the B string is your G note, C, E, G. Then we go to 7 on the G string for a D note, 7 on the B string for an F sharp note, 5th on the high E for an A note, D, F sharp, A, kind of working the D chord. And at the end, you could even do the E note on the B string 5th fret, 8th fret on the B string for a G note, 8th fret on the high E for a C note. And if you wanted to get really crazy, then you could even kind of slide that idea over to get over to the other D, kind of working that same idea. So it's going C major arpeggio, D major arpeggio, C major arpeggio, D major arpeggio, and then you're alternating where you're starting in the chord from the root to the 3rd to the 5th back to the root. It's kind of crazy, but hopefully you got some tab if you kind of dig on that lick. I thought this was awesome. So you got C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, C, F sharp, A, D, G, C, E, A, D, F sharp, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, C, and then F sharp, A, D. Kind of stumbled upon that lick actually the other day listening through some of the lesson ideas, which can be a very cool idea to work over an A minor chord, or even mixing. Yeah, oh, and you could even keep that going, couldn't you? Obviously, oh my gosh, it'd get crazy up there. But so that might be another cool idea to to use over an A minor chord is kind of thinking about it as C major, D major ideas over the top of that too. So I just thought that was a cool idea to even take the pentatonic ideas and then alternate it with a piece of that Robert lick. Supposed to be how you move things around to other keys, and I've gone off topic giving you a ton of A minor ideas to practice, you know, little words to kind of be able to say some stuff in that scale. Oh, and randomly another idea, actually, and this is another Robert idea that he threw at me, is with any of these licks, actually, you maybe want to try doing them tapping wise. He used to call this more legato playing, like patterns 3, for instance. We could pick every note, or we could play the first note and then try and kind of tap out. So this is weird. I'm doing a hammer on the low E, taking my first finger and just slammed him down on the A fifth to kind of try and get the sound almost like a tapping idea. And actually, you could even take the right hand out of this and try it all left hand. Might be kind of a cool way to kind of just get used to doing some left hand tapping. It's one of those skills that's very cool if you want to be able to drink a beer in the middle of a gig. I know that's a random thing, but so you're on a solo, you know, if you can keep a sustained trill, you've got the time to, you know, have a sip or something. Or if you get used to legato playing, you can still kind of get something to come out while you're occupied with your other hand. But anyway, so that might be kind of a cool idea too. Key-wise, the main concept here with moving lead guitar stuff around, you got your A minor scale that works off of the A note on the low E string, and that works for an A minor chord. So if you're playing an A minor chord, if the first chord is an A minor, all those licks we were just talking about work to solo over an A minor chord. The weird part is if somebody says it's a major chord, they'll be like, oh my gosh, it's A major. Oh my gosh, well, what you do is instead of they're using your first finger lined up to the A note, which is a minor, it sounds sad. Well, what you could do is put your pinky on that note, on the A note, and then if you lined up the same pattern 1, but to that 5th fret on the low E string with the pinky, that ends up being your major pentatonic scale. So the idea here is major, you line it up to the pinky, minor, you line it up to the first finger. So if you've got an A minor chord, or randomly if you're doing a blues thing, actually, and you hear some 7s going on, you might want to gravitate towards the minor pentatonic scale. And it's weird, minor pentatonic can get used to solo over major, actually, and does very, very quite often in blues and country. Randomly, so you might want to try the minor over a major chord. That's a whole other topic in a way, but not really. So the idea here is if you see a major chord, want it to sound happy, then you line it up to the pinky. So we got 2, 5, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 5. If it's sad, or if it's bluesy, then you may want to gravitate towards the minor pentatonic, still working the 5th fret on the high E string. Now you still have to know your notes on the low E string or the high E string. And that's where you'd line this pattern up. So just to give you some examples, because I know on Munson Jam Tracks there's tons of 1-chord vamps with major and minor chords. Tons more coming is what I'm hoping to do. So the idea is you could even dance around in Munson Jam Tracks, you know, do a search on the main channel for major, and then you'd have major chord vamps, or minor, and then you have minor chord vamps. And then you could take those ideas and then move them around on the guitar. Or whatever your instrument is, actually. But so, as an example, right, we'll go over a couple keys just to kind of get used to moving that groove around. So if, for instance, somebody's like, oh man, the first chord's an E major. All right, so E major. Oh, I'm a very, very happy chord, right? You go and find an E note on the E string. Now you've got the open E, right? Or you could work it off 12th fret on the low E string. It's still an E note. And actually, I'm kind of assuming you know chromatic scale: E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, E, E flat, D, D flat, C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E on the E string. Kind of the names of those notes because we'll be using those to line this up. So you got your pinky on the low E string for the E note because it's a major. So your E's on 12. It's a major groove. You want it to be happy. You start lining up the pinky on 12, and now you got 9, 12, 9, 11, 9, 11, 9, 11, 9, 12, 9, 12. So if I got this chord going on, that's where I would line that up. Now if I'm doing a minor, right, if it's E minor, the E note doesn't move. So the E note is still on 12 on the low E string, but now I start with my first finger. So E minor, pentatonic scale, you got 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. Over that. And that's kind of cool because you can kind of hear that in relationship to just the open string. E major. Sadness. Alright, so a couple song examples randomly. Alright, so and actually some of these, ooh, yeah, okay, so Can't You See, right? Where we kind of start on the D, and then C, and then a G, and then back to D. So randomly we're in the key of G major. However, the first chord is a D note. And actually to solo over that song, actually, you would use a D minor pentatonic scale. It's kind of a country exception randomly. So your D note is on the low E 10, and if you wanted a major, actually you kind of line up to the pinky, and that's our first chord. So you can have a really happy sound that way. D major pentatonic scale. Against that major sound and get a minor idea going on with a D minor pentatonic scale. Which is what they actually do too, just kind of work off that D minor pentatonic scale. If we have some other song examples, like what if we were in wow, this was a good one actually, and this one's kind of weird too. The first chord is an A major. Alright, I'm thinking of Fly Away by Lenny Kravitz. You got an A major, and then a C, and then a G, and then a D. So all the chords are major, and a lot of rock tunes will do this actually, and it kind of works off the power chord idea, but you start hearing everything as a major chord. So A major is the first chord. You could use a major pentatonic scale, kind of A note on the low E string, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 5. When that C hits, it starts sounding a little off. It's almost too happy. Almost works. I think the minor kind of works better, like working 5 to 8, that one that we actually started with all the licks with. And what I'm really kind of doing, I just jumped into a groove, right? This is a very Jimi Hendrix thing, is you play the chord, make up a lick, chord, make up a lick, chord, make up a lick, chord, make a lick. And that's all really, really sloppy. I'm trying to kind of play the chord so you can hear the chord, jump into a lick, back and forth. So I think with that particular song, actually, you end up kind of working a minor groove over the top of that. Wow, let's see. Last Dance with Mary Jane. So Tom Petty tune. Actually, I guess he does a capo 1, but if you're doing it open, the first chord would be A minor. So we find the A note on low E. Kind of work that pentatonic scale just where we were doing. If the first chord was a D minor, right? We kind of talked about this a little bit with Can't You See? notes on the low E10. Since it's minor, you start first finger. Some other examples. If our first chord was A flat major. Oh my gosh. A flat's on the low E 4th fret. Since it's major, you'd line the pinky up to it. It starts 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4. Could be cool. What if our first chord was a F minor? So now working the other side of this pattern. So if it's an F minor, you got F on the low E string, first fret. Same pattern, actually. 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4. That kind of groove. What if our first chord was C sharp minor? A message in a bottle kind of groove, right? C sharp minor, C sharp's on the low E string on the 9th fret, and since it's minor, we start 9 12 9 11 9 11 9 11 9 12 9 12. If our first chord was a B flat minor, like Chameleon, as we heard Hancock. But the main melody is pentatonic scale. So you have B flat on the low E6, and then you got 6 to 9, 6 8, 6 8, 6 8, 6 9, 6 E flat major. So now we got an E flat on the low E string 11th fret. We got 8th fret is kind of your C note randomly, and actually that's what's weird actually. All these patterns actually are really 2, right? So E flat major is the same key as C minor, and actually that can be a very cool thing just to kind of get in your head too around the pattern. So E flat major, E flat's on the low E11, it's a major. Put your pinky on it, working that pentatonic scale pattern from 8. So 8 11 8 10 8 10 8 10 8 kind of thing. So what if we were in the key of G minor? Actually, I'm kind of thinking Stormy Monday, actually, and this is random because it's another blues thing, is you'd have G, kind of slow blues in G, kind of working G minor pentatonic scale. So you have low E on the 3rd fret as your G note, and since it's minor, we start with the first finger. So you have 3 6 3 5 3 5 3 5 3 6 3 6. Monday, and this is Allman Brothers tune. It's really a T-Bone Walker tune. You'd have G7, this cool walk up to A minor, cool walk up to B minor, cool walk back to B flat 7. It's kind of groovy. Actually, that's the coolest part of the whole tune. Actually, before you jump into this D chord, so randomly on that part, you may even, and sometimes tunes just kind of work this way. You got the G minor idea that you're working for the G7. When it moves to the A minor, you may want to move that whole pentatonic pattern over. When it moves to B minor, you may want to move that whole pentatonic scale over. When it goes to the B flat, we're getting really chord specific in the tune. Now, B flat major, you could even work B flat major pentatonic scale. So actually the G and then you'd be back to the D. So you could even get really exact. So on the D7, I can use D minor pentatonic. But then it goes to E flat, so I can do the same thing to kind of move it over fret, back to the D minor, back to G7. You know, so you could take the patterns that we're doing, and rather than just thinking about a generalized key idea like the first chord, you could move the pattern every time it changes chord. So if you wanted to get really crazy with it, that could be cool. G, A minor, B minor, B flat, and then D, E flat, and then back to G. Time for the turnaround. C, G, D. So if you want to get really chord specific, you can do that with pentatonic even, and actually a lot of other scale patterns too. But that can be a very, very cool way to kind of work into. So a couple other examples. So what if you're in B major? So now we got a B major chord, working B note on the low E string, and you put your pinky on it because it's a major. Kind of working B major from the 4th fret on the E string. So 4, 7, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 7, 4, 7. Alright, let's see it. G sharp minor singing. So what if you were in F sharp major? Now this gets a little weird. F sharp major, right? F sharp's on the low E 2nd fret. But I can't put my pinky on that and line it up to anything. So I gotta take that note and shift it all the way to 14th fret. So over the 12th fret, everything starts over again. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. So you take that F sharp note on the 14 on the low E, put the pinky on it, awesome, and then you got 11 to 14. It's kind of an F sharp major pentatonic scale. So you got 11, 14, 11, 13, 11, 13, 11, 13, 11, 14, 11, 14. So we're just taking that pattern that we start with. That might be kind of cool to, you know, kind of working that F sharp major groove that way. So there's 12 keys, 12 major keys, 12 minor keys, and actually, actually, if you get used to seeing the patterns that way, kind of the A major or A minor that we started with, right? That's where your first finger note is. The majors start on the pinky, so a C major groove and an A minor groove can use the same scale, actually, the same pentatonic scale, and that's something called your relative minor. You got a C major, A minor is a relative minor. To A major, F sharp minor is a relative minor. And it's always that same distance, actually. It's the distance of a flat third, randomly, between what normally in a major key we call the 6 to the 1. If you're thinking of it in a minor key, this is from the 1 to the flat third. So it just kind of depends on how far that skipping over 2 frets shape is. But that's that first shape we start with in the scale. Or sometimes it can be cool even to take that idea of the pattern lower and then shift it up by 12 frets to get the next note up. So the F sharp on the low E 2nd fret, well, there's an F sharp note on the 14th fret. So if you wanted to sound more like a lead guitar idea, you want to try and get it higher up on the neck. So where electric guitars, the real guitars, in the words of Phil Watson, kind of play in. So you maybe have that F sharp minor working higher on the neck. Gives you more lead weight, I guess. It just sounds more like a lead guitar if you're higher. turn on the radio and some tune is playing, whatever it happens to be, then there's probably a place where that pentatonic scale will work. So you could turn on the radio. I know some of you guys love to listen to the radio. You got to hear what's on new. Grab your guitar, tune up, hopefully, and then from there, try and find a place where that first finger, the fourth finger on the low E string sounds good to you with whatever song's playing on the radio. And sometimes some songs will change keys. You know, I mean, they'll go between two keys sometimes. You know, so it might one place might sound good to you in the beginning. Some other song, pattern may not stay in the one place. But that could be a very cool exercise. Find some place where just the first finger and the pinky sounds good, and then try your pattern. And it may not work. You might be like, man, it just sounds like I'm playing a whole bunch of wrong notes. Find another place where that almost sounds pretty good to you. Like, oh yeah, oh, that's starting to sound more like the tune, yeah. And you might not even know what chord's going on. But that would give you a background track to try and practice some of those licks we were talking about. That kind of thing. So working bends and hammer-ons and slides and tremolo. And you'll gravitate towards some things. You'll find some licks that you really like the sound of, and you'll be like, dude, that's my style, man. Or you may be one of those guys that's like, I gotta play that solo exactly like the recording. If you're a Floyd fan, you're like, dude, I gotta play that solo note for note exactly like Gilmore. And that's cool. And you may end up with some licks actually that you see in the pattern, or you might be working on a song and stumble upon, oh my gosh, man, that's almost that pentatonic pattern. And then all of a sudden, you got some more licks. To kind of add to your little vocabulary of stuff that you can do in the pattern. So you want to experiment, find some licks that you like to steal, and then design your own licks. You may want to grab some crazy notebook and then start tabbing out things that you like the sound of, and then that way you could practice through those, and then that's your vocabulary. Those are the things that you can say with your guitars would be in your lick book. I had a great lick book, an awesome lick book, and then I had a guitar stolen and it had the lick book in it, but now I have a new lick book. So you may want to play around with that idea too. You could write them down, and that way you've got all the licks that you really like. You might want to start with some of the licks in here that we talked about that you really like. You might want to go and copy down some of the tab, get your lick book started with some of my licks. Feel free to, or some of Robert's licks, and just feel like you can kind of build on that and kind of take that and then work some stuff. So that's the basics of how you could kind of take pattern one of pentatonic scale and then have a whole bunch of licks in it. And I know I went crazy off topic, talking about one note per string patterns and patterns of three, patterns of four, all that cool triad stuff that you could work around the lick too, kind of working that C-D idea around the A minor. But anyway, so best of luck, and I hope that helps kind of see like how you could solo in any key, really kind of using that one pattern and kind of try and train your ear to what sounds good. Just turn it on whatever you're listening to and try and jam with it. So best of luck.